I hate when people put things into the world before they're ready. Boy, talk about some heavy foreshadowing. T.I.M, or there are some who call him Tim, was written and directed by Spencer Brown in his feature credit, and also written by Sarah Govitt in her feature writing credit. Check out the respective IMDb pages for the full listens of their work, and hopefully they can go on to do something better than Tim, because Tim is basically just Splice, just with an AI bot instead of a weird hybrid clone alien thing. Yeah, I'm kind of revealing how I felt about this movie right off the bat, because the plot, such as it is, involves Abby, I need more pudding! Oh yeah, let's just have some fun with the MST3K quotes, why don't we? With the incredibly talented and incredibly gorgeous Georgina Campbell, who was in Barbarian. And unlike Barbarian, which was scary and actually had some good dry comedy and some good dark comedy, this had unintentional comedy. This had unintentional comedy the same way Megan did, but really, unlike Megan, there is no viral marketing campaign that is going to make Tim memorable, because there's no weird dance scene and no weird stuff going on. And also, the girl from Get Out was not in it. However, Georgina Campbell was in this, and Tim was played by Eamon Farran, who I do have to say goes for it as an AI bot. An AI that basically is there to make everybody's life easier. But of course, there's going to be issues with this AI technology and talk of deepfake and all this stuff going on. And gee, I wonder what this movie's going to turn out to be. Could it turn out that this AI is actually evil? Indeed. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It centers around a few particular characters. Actors that actually are pretty good. Again, the guy that plays Tim actually is, about as good as he can be, playing an emotionless bot that eventually maybe gains some emotions, just acts full-on silly. And also, Mark Rowley plays Paul. Paul is not Paul anymore. He's not Super Paul in this, because he doesn't turn into a weird moon rock, oh wow, creature. I'm just going full-on silly with this, because taking this movie seriously, because it does kind of take itself seriously for no goddamn reason, even though it's a simplistic premise. It does have a nice, neat little idea of AI integrating itself into our lives and making our lives easier, like with Alexa and all this other stuff going on, where it's like, hey, play the police, or call the police. Playing Fuck the Police by NWA from Us. Just recently rewatched that, and that was a better use of AI than what we got here. Yeah, this movie isn't good at all. Like, you have Tim, and I wrote this down, technologically integrated manservant. Let's get this manservant over here. Bully. I'm sorry to any of my British friends that happen to be watching this. I really, really am sorry. There's also a neighbor, Rose, played by Amara Karan. I do have to say, whoever plays the realtor lady that is in one scene, holy fuck, she's gorgeous. I need to find out more about her and see what else she's been in. So, yeah, basically, Abby, excuse me, boy, those impressions really took it out of me. Abby and Paul, they're trying to start a new life. There is stuff that bubbles up to the surface about why they decided to move to the countryside. Abby is going to work for a robotics company, where the boss talks about deepfake stuff, and soon all this will replace humans. Foreshadowing, my goodness. Geez, why don't you just hit us over the head with it, movie? There's a neat idea, and there's poor execution. In fact, this movie basically was practically publicly executed and then shoved out onto a streaming service. I paid $8 to watch this on Amazon, so I kind of feel I'm within my rights to say this movie is not good, like, at all. Like, really, at all. Everybody deserves to get paid, and I hope everybody can go on to do bigger and better projects, but this was a colossal waste of time. Outside of, like, 2 scenes that made me bust up laughing for the wrong goddamn reasons. This is tedious, plotting. Again, besides the actor that played Tim, every other character is really goddamn stupid. And yes, I'm sure it had a low budget, probably a couple $1 million, I imagine. And that's fine. You can make the most of a movie with a small budget, but when the decisions by particular characters advance the meager plot in such a convoluted way, and you can't help but just groan or laugh unintentionally, you aren't making a good movie. You are not making something that is going to thought-provoke or whatever. This is still better than Wife-like, because at least there were some funny moments in this. Unlike Wife-like, which also had C.J. Perry in it, the wife of Rusev, a.k.a. Miro. And yeah, that's really all the obscure references I have. Georgina Campbell looks absolutely amazing. I mean, absolutely goddamn stunning. There is a point where her and Paul are getting ready to go to dinner. She walks out in this black dress. I'm like, Jesus, goddamn Christ, who could fumble her? Honestly, who could fumble her? Other than that, you really just get a by-the-numbers sci-fi horror movie that isn't entertaining for the right reasons. It's entertaining for all the wrong reasons, and it just ends up being a convoluted, ridiculous mess. And you can't help but laugh. If you don't laugh at this movie, just thinking, oh, I gotta laugh to hide the pain of the fact that it exists, yeah, then I really don't know what to tell you. There are worse movies out there already this year. I'm not even all the way through January, and this movie is really, really goddamn bad. But it might not even end up cracking the top 5. That's saying something. Neat little idea. Georgina Campbell and the guy to play Tim, and even the actor to play Paul, they were fine. The one to play Rose, she was okay. She just wasn't given really much to do. Nevertheless, I am going to get into spoilers. It's on Amazon for a few bucks if you want to check it out and random support people. Why not? 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, it turns out that Abby and Paul have a tense relationship because Paul cheated, and they move to, the countryside where she's going to work on, this robotic stuff. And obviously there's issues with the whole goddamn program because obviously, why the fuck wouldn't there be? Oh, you're here at our robotics company. Hey, here's your own Tim. Well, we don't really need him. Well, you have to have him because if our employees don't have it in their home, then how are we going to bring this stuff to market? We never see if any of these other employees, by the way, have their own Tims, probably because they couldn't afford to show any other houses. I'm sorry. I'm sure they worked the best with the small budget that they had, but seriously, this movie was egregiously cheap and very, very stretched out. So, the part with the part where the realtor, who's again gorgeous, god damn, she's gorgeous, really could understand how she could sell a lot of houses. Boy, howdy. It's like they're all smart houses for dumbasses, because pretty much everybody in this movie is a dumbass. Especially Abby, and Georgina Campbell is not a dumbass, and she was made to really play a dumbass here. Yes, there were parts in Barbarian where she played somebody that made some dumb decisions. Here's the difference. That movie had pacing and really, really good camera work, and I can't wait to see what the director does for that. And I hope Spencer Brown can actually go out and do something else as well, and maybe use this as a catapult. Same with Sarah Govett. Hopefully they can do something else. You gotta start somewhere. But geez, this movie was spinning its wheels 30 minutes in because it was obvious where it was going, and it really was like Splice, except there was no mating between the alien creature and the one that they created. I'm sorry, that's unfair to Adrian Brody. That really is unfair to him. The man that was in The Pianist, and many people took in The Pianist. It was long and satisfying. So, yeah, the black dress on Georgina Campbell, I noted. Goddamn, geez, who could resist her? And, yeah, there's an implication that Paul is sleeping with the neighbor, Rose. He's actually not. She's just simply bringing him over garden plans. He actually has changed his ways. And Tim just keeps little indications that he likes her, that he likes Abby. He watches a classic film. I forget what film it was. I thought it was Casablanca, but yeah, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn what the hell it was. And Tim is granted access to their passwords, all this stuff, integrating AI, now a really great idea. And he's here to, provide ease and pleasure. I mean, who could resist Georgina Campbell? Again, yes, maybe I will profess my love for Georgina Campbell one of these days. Shut up. So, Tim doesn't know what love is, but he wants Abby to show him. He wants to feel what love is and hopes that she shows him. That was a terrible Foreigner reference. And Paul had cheated, doesn't cheat anymore. There is this video shown by Tim later that shows that while she was on a business trip, Abby was, he was banging Rose on the goddamn desk. And the boss had referred to deepfakes and all this realistic stuff and everything. And sometimes you should trust people, even if the stuff looks really realistic. Abby can't solve any of the problems because the boss keeps getting in her way, but then solves this grip problem. At one point, Tim decides to capture a mouse and throw it down the goddamn garbage disposal. I used to have a pet mouse. Fuck you, movie. How dare you? It was trapped. You could have put it outside. And he can call in her voice, basically, and make appointments and check on stuff. Abby and Paul are trying to have a baby. And unlike in Barbarian, there's no incest involved. Sorry if you haven't seen Barbarian. It's been out for about 18 months at this point. And Rose is there, and they're talking in town, her and Abby. There's this necklace that's shown, and then there's this Love Actually type moment where it's implied that this necklace was bought and that the husband bought it, but then didn't give it to Abby, gave it to Rose. But actually turned out who bought it was Tim, because Tim can just go in these driverless cars, and these driverless cars exist all over the UK, apparently, wherever they are in the goddamn UK. I don't care. I don't think they would exist in the British countryside, but what the fuck do I know about e-vehicles? Nevertheless, what ends up happening from there is it's obvious that Tim is professing all this stuff. It's ridiculous. Paul knows that it's all bullshit. And there's an override or a shutdown thing that was supposed to be, 4 words. But Paul, can't do that stuff. Paul basically tries to shut him down at one point as a joke. And Abby's like, no, you can't do that. Tim drives a wedge between them, shows the footage. Obviously, it wasn't Paul cheating. I mean, I wouldn't blame him for wanting to be with the girl named Rose, or the woman that played Rose, but you have Georgina Campbell. I think you would stick with Georgina Campbell. If you are lucky enough, shut up, I will stop. And then it's obvious that Abby is a moron because she can't see all the stuff right in front of her. This runaway car, this driverless car crashes because Tim has disabled all this stuff, and it just speeds up and then goes over this tree, and Paul ends up in the hospital and then ends up back at the house. And this footage is shown where he had cheated while she was on this business trip, except he didn't. So she sends him away, and then he calls on this payphone. I remember payphones. We don't have that many in Washington State anymore. Did anybody have a payphone in their particular town or area? I'm genuinely concerned. I'm genuinely curious also. That's the word I was looking for. So Paul calls Rose first, and then calls home, and Tim answers in her voice. It turns out that, after a couple sex scenes, that there may be something going on and everything, and then maybe Georgina Campbell finally is able to have the child with Paul that she always was wanting to. But we don't find that out till later. Yeah, she ends up pregnant by the end of the movie, by the way. And there's this part that's foreshadowing where Tim has this shovel and then helps dig up this garden part. And then shows up with the shovel when Paul shows up, and he says, "Welcome home, Paul." Hits him, ties him up, and drowns him in the bathtub while he tries to say the 4 words that would shut him down. That doesn't work, though, because Paul ends up getting drowned and buried in the goddamn garden. Everyone is dumb. Well, mainly Abby. She decides to stay at the house with this killer bot that is clearly obsessed with her. And she finds out it's all deep fake. My God, Paul's in the garden. Miss him. And then he ends up hitting Abby over the head with the phone, KOing her, and can't let her call the police. Can't let any of that happen. So he's got this romantic thing set up with all these candles, all the stuff. He's going to give her one nice night. One night, uno noche, as 98 Degrees once said, and then he's going to kill her. She breaks the cameras with a bunch of golf clubs, and Rose tries to get in the house, and Tim won't let her. So Rose eventually tries to run her car in to the goddamn window, and the window doesn't break. At least not yet. Then it cracks and everything, and it's hilarious. This is just so fucking funny at this point because it's just so bonkers and so stupid. And Rose, you would think she's knocked out. She can't get out of the goddamn vehicle. Then she gets out of the vehicle with a spear, and Super Argo style spear. That does not look like a spear at all, what I'm doing. Spears him against the wall. But then he pulls the spear away. he gets this knife. He doesn't leave fingerprints, so he basically stabs Rose and kills her. And then calls, while he has Abby, calls and has shoved pills down her throat. She freed herself, and then that shit happened where Rose ended up spearing him and then getting stabbed. And she's got all these pills that I guess didn't really take effect. And he's got her up on the rooftop, April showers, and he basically is gonna kill her. And he's already called the police in her voice, saying, she's gonna commit, she's gonna basically take her own life. She can't take it anymore. She killed her husband, killed a neighbor, the woman she's cheating with, took a bunch of pills, can't take it anymore. And he has changed his safe words, his 4 safe words, to something she will never say. And if you couldn't have guessed what the fuck it was, I really don't know what to tell you. He says, I love you, Abby. And she's choking out, I love you, Tim. And that's ended the shutdown. Or initiated shutdown. Then they tumble over. And then she gets back up on the goddamn, landing. And I guess it's okay. I guess they'll prove that the robot was the one that called. And then she finds out according to her watch that she's pregnant. And that's it. That's what the movie ends with. Honestly, eat shit, Tim. This is really, really bad. This is really bad. This is laughably awful. Entertaining moments, but laughably awful. It gets an F. Sorry. Agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.